learning. Now, Srinivas comes with about, say, 15 plus years of experience as a Java developer himself. And he's been part of the Apache Hadoop right from the time of its inception. And he's written some great paperworks for Apache itself. And he's been associated with TechieBees right from its inception. And he's one excellent trainer. Or we usually call him an ocean of knowledge. So now I'm going to let you guys, and I'm going to let Srinivas take over the session so that he could share his knowledge with you guys and you guys learn better. And now, Srinivas, you can take over. Thank you and happy learning, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Snell. Thank you for giving a wonderful introduction about me. I appreciate. So, good evening, friends. So before I dive into the actual concept, I would like to hear from your end. What is your core intention of going for this Hadoop administration? Yeah, please. You plan to take up Hadoop administration. I would like to hear from your end. What is your core intention of choosing this program? I would like
okay,
to
Vladan here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Yes. My main goal is to find a job as a Hadoop administrator.
Okay. Find a job. Okay. I would like to hear from your end. What is your your current background, your technical background?
My current technical background is currently I don't work in IT field, but I'm pursuing currently over here in the US software development degree, and I have some certifications in IT field as A+, Network Plus. I have 2 certifications for the web development. I'm familiar a little bit with Java, with Python. I finished, I also completed the first level Linux certification. I completed Linux administration course. I also have attended some classes over here at community colleges regarding cybersecurity. So that's kind of all, yeah.
That's pretty interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I have from my old country, from Serbia. I have like a college degree, which is police academy, which is, I mean, practically useless over here. So that's I'm trying to kind of switch to IT.
Okay, that's really pretty interesting to hear, Radan, from your end. That you have exposure towards web development, you have exposure towards Java, whatever a bit.
Yeah, I mean, those courses that I took, I mean, I wasn't really interested in web development, but that's the path of the classes that kind of they make me to take at the college. And since I took those classes, they're kind of preparing you for certification. So practically as soon as I finish the class, I go and pass the certification at the same time. So
interesting.
Just to get a certification, yeah.
So I don't know whether you have this idea or not, but all things whatever you did till now,
yes,
will be directly or indirectly helpful to you as a Hadoop admin.
Got it.
Whether you have done those courses intentionally to take up Hadoop administration in the coming days or not, but they are going to be helpful to you. Say, you have done your Linux administration and you have done certification and you have learned a bit of Java and you have some exposure towards web development, some idea towards cyber security. So all these things, if you see, I don't say that, if you don't have knowledge in all these, you will not be able to do Hadoop administration. Having knowledge in all these and then you go for Hadoop administration, the results are definitely different. So that's pretty interesting to hear. That's the reason why I asked specifically, what is your core intention of learning Hadoop administration and what is your technical background? Based on these two aspects only, I plan my sessions, because it's not that we have a standard PPTs available for all the 30 sessions and we run all the PPTs and we finish the program. We never do that. So it's a dynamic program. Based on the skill set of the participants, we fine tune our program. We don't want to teach something which you are already aware. No point in doing that. But as we are going to do this as a session, may not be possible to take every person into consideration, but at least we can come to a common consensus and from there we can drive it. That was the reason why I asked specifically. Yeah. Abraham, I would like to hear from your end. Abraham, you are there? You can unmute yourself and you can speak.
Srinivas, I see that he's not connected to the audio. I will speak to him. I'll try reaching him out.
Yeah, please. Lauren, bear for a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, bear for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. I'll mute myself. Only if you ask me a question, I'll unmute it.
Yes, that would be really appreciated. Yeah. So we have actually as part of Hadoop, we have Hadoop developer program and the other one is Hadoop administration. So broadly, I mean, not only this one, you take many of the platforms, usually they will be like this, a developer and an admin, both. Linux developer, Linux admin. SAP developer, SAP admin. But terminology is different there. We call SAP admin as basis admin. SAP developer, nothing but the programmer who knows ABAP. SAP ABAP, the programming language with which you write the code in SAP. So even when it comes to Hadoop, we have Hadoop developer and Hadoop administration. Unlike other technologies or platforms, Hadoop is not that matured, and Hadoop is not able to clearly segment the developer and the administration that clearly. I mean, as of now, a Hadoop developer is the one who should have 80% developer knowledge and 20% administration knowledge. Same when it comes to this 20, maybe slightly maybe plus or minus 5% difference. 75% developer and 25% admin, or 85% developer and 15% admin. So plus or minus 5% difference. Even when it comes to the administration, you cannot be a complete admin. You definitely need to be a partial developer. Partial developer. It is not possible that you can be a 100% admin when it comes to Hadoop. You'll come to know these things, over a period of time. When you start going through the sessions, you'll come to know. So we also require some developer knowledge. Even to be an administrator, even to be a part of the Hadoop administration, I must be a developer partially. You'll come to know those things. So Hadoop is basically an open source solution to something called big data. So big data and Hadoop, you take these two terms. Whenever you hear the term called big data, parallelly, you'll also be hearing the term called Hadoop. Parallelly, you'll be hearing the term called Hadoop. So, in our today's discussion, I would like to make a few things clear. One, what is big data? And the next one, what is Hadoop? And the third one, how big data and Hadoop are related to each other. And the fourth one, what components you have as part of Hadoop ecosystem. And what, apart from what we see as part of Hadoop, what other components you have as part of the Hadoop ecosystem. So these are the four aspects that we try to understand and get clear picture in our today's discussion. Lauren, can you please tell me what is your idea towards big data? So you are being asked anytime, what is big data? How you define it?
So I would say the big data would be maybe like extremely large or extremely big sets of data. So that can be, I mean, I don't know, like maybe processed or unprocessed data. So, but my picture is that's probably like extremely big data.
Okay. So extremely large data sets we consider it to be big data. That's what your idea, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's how I see. I mean, I never encountered anything. I mean, I wasn't really interested in data administration till now, so I never really learned about big data before. So
Interesting. There's nothing wrong, because as we are about to take up this Hadoop administration, Hadoop is a solution to your big data. So we must understand what is big data and what is Hadoop, and how these two are connected to each other, and what other components we have as part of the Hadoop ecosystem. So let us start with the term what is big data. This is one good thing that you always can learn, that when you fail to understand something on its own, it is good that you divide and try to understand. It's a natural, over a period of time, it is a natural phenomena that you gain. So if you fail to understand big data, good that we try to understand what is data first. We try to understand what is data first, and then we try to add big to that one. We probably get the understanding of what is big data. That's the most easiest way, maybe out of the experience what we gained as a student since so many years. We definitely accept this. And in the process of understanding data, let us try to understand why data is so important. Why data is so important. Until and unless it is important, we never focus or we never look at it. So that is why I want you to clearly understand why data is so important. If it is not important, why we need to consider, we need not think about it. We are thinking about it, or we usually think about it only when we feel it is important. If it is not important, we never need to think about it. So, to understand along the way the concept of big data, we are starting with the term data and trying to understand why data is so important, why data is so important to anyone. As a part of this one, I would like to please look at this. Hope you are able to see my screen. You have a slide here.
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Yeah, Abraham.
Yes.
Yeah, Abraham, are you able to listen to us?
Yes, I am now.
That's interesting. Yeah, good. So you can be on mute now. If you want to speak something, then you can unmute and you can speak, or you want to raise a question. Till then you can.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So I don't think you have missed anything. We are in the beginning of discussing what is big data, and as a part of that, we are trying to understand what is data and trying to understand why data is so important. That's it. You haven't missed anything, so don't worry for that. Yeah, great. You can keep yourself on mute, Abraham. You have an option. Yes, thank you. So look at this slide, you can understand. Please look at this slide. This is what the Middle East, Arabian countries or Arabian nations, in the beginning of 1900 or 1910, 20, in the beginning of 1900s, how they were, and by 19 or mid 1930s, how it got transformed, and by 2000 and by 2015 or 2017, if you look at all these photographs, 1900, 1937, 2000 and 2017, what do you see here? Yeah, Vlad.
I see improvement, but I also see adding up some things, So on the first picture, they didn't have any buildings, so then they added some buildings. Then on the third picture, they added skyscrapers, it's like adding more and more.
You're absolutely right. So you could see a clear transition in the Middle East nations especially. And I need not tell you what is the reason behind that. What is the reason behind this transition? Why the Middle East nations got transformed into very rich nations, and today they are enjoying, definitely, maybe I'm not talking about the other side of the coin, the unrest and the current situation prevailing there. I'm not talking about those, but positive side, if you see, what is the reason behind, the core reason behind their transformation in the last 50, 70 years? What is the reason behind it? What is the reason behind it? No other reason. Oil is the only reason behind their transformation. Oil is the only reason. In the Middle East nations, after the oil has been found, their fate has been completely changed. And I don't know whether you are seeing this one or not. Now, with the Tesla and these kind of companies coming up with best of the best vehicles that runs on batteries or electricity, it is a clear threat to these nations in the coming years. So that is the reason why these nations are now trying to undergo one more transformation, and they're not just depending on the oil for their nation's prosperity. That is why the nations like Dubai and all, they're building or they're converting their countries into tourist destinations and other business hubs, because they realized oil will not be anymore the only source for their revenue generation. So you can understand from this one clearly, oil is the only source which transformed their lives. Same. I'm trying to make you to understand here, friends. Data is going to be the new oil. Data is going to be the new oil. Companies sitting on huge data will definitely take the advantage. See, all these years, companies or organizations not able to get much out of the data. But you might have observed and noticed how Facebook kind of companies, not only Facebook, as it is well known, I am trying to share that example. But take any company, take Amazon, take Walmart, all these companies are sitting on huge data now. You take banking industry. Every bank has got millions of customers and all their data is with the bank. Your date of birth, your email ID, your contact number, and your spending patterns all are available with the banks. And Google has tons and tons of data. It is gathering, every minute it is gathering about everything that you are browsing. Whatever you are browsing in your browser, they are tracking. That is how they are placing the ads next to your wherever you are visiting the pages. They are able to place the appropriate ads which attracts you. Is all because every minute of the human life is now being tracked in some or other form. Every company is behind gathering the data. So data is going to be the new oil. Like how oil has transformed the Middle East nations, data is going to transform the organizations in the current day world, and in future data plays a vital role or a main role in the valuation of the company, which was not the case before. So with this you can clearly understand that data is everything in the coming days. So data is everything in the coming days. When you are evaluating a company, you take the amount of the data what that company has got into consideration, majorly into consideration at the time of evaluating the company. So data becomes a key asset to any organization in the coming days. So I think with this it has been very clear to you that data is very important. Data is very important. And you can understand from this one. Have a look at this one, friends. You look closely into this slide, you understand. You have data at the very lowest. When data is processed or synthesized. When your data is processed, you get information. When information is further processed, we get knowledge. When knowledge is further synthesized, we get wisdom. With wisdom only we make decisions. Based on your decision only, the organization future depends. The future of the organization now, the future of the organization depends directly or indirectly on the data. If there is no data, no information, no knowledge. Without knowledge, we cannot have wisdom, and without wisdom, you cannot make any decision, right or wrong, forget it. But without wisdom, we cannot make any decision. I hope you understand, friends, here. Data is the base. And this is what we popularly call it to be DIKW model. DIKW model. Data, information, knowledge and wisdom. Hope with this you have understood clearly what is why data is so important. And we try to understand what is data with a simple example. Data is raw, unorganized fact that needs to be processed. Data is raw, unorganized fact that need to be processed. I hope you got the point what I am trying to share with you here, friends. When the same data is processed, or it is being organized, or it is being kept in a structured form, or that is presented in the given context, we call it to be information. So we can clearly understand from this. Data is raw, unorganized facts that need to be processed. You look at this one. Each student's test score is one piece of data. Each student's test score is one piece of data. It is not going to give you much. Each student's test score will not give you much. But the class average score or the school average score is going to be more helpful either to the class teacher or to the school principal in making a decision. Based on the school average score or the class average score, the principal may decide what is the reason behind this poor class average score. Is it because of the sudden change in the syllabus by the government, or the teacher who is taking that subject is not good at, or the students facing any challenge because they moved from the earlier class to the current class, because of that there is a impact. So the class teacher or the school principal can make a decision based on the information, not based on the data. So data is just a piece of unorganized fact, is raw, which is expected to be processed. So you look at this one very closely, you understand the data is raw, unorganized fact that needs to be processed. When the same data is processed, we call it to be information. So I hope you understand with this what is data. So hope you got the understanding what is data and why data is so important. So with this, we can definitely think about what is big data. The reason why I discussed this one so clearly, if you feel the data itself is not so important, then why we need to think about big data? We need not think about big data. But now we realized and we have understood very clearly, data is very important and we need to know about it. Data is very important and we need to know about it. So we have learnt about it. What is data? So it is a time now to think about what is big data. What is big data? So big data is anything. Big data is anything. It is the same story like if you are being asked, what you mean by a good citizen? This is a question being asked. What do you mean by a good citizen? And people start saying a good citizen is the one who obeys laws that are being set by that nation and who pay taxes properly, who respect elders. So you start like how when you call about a good citizen, how you get these things, and you keep telling all these, you get 100 points. But according to the law, a good citizen is a one who is helpful to the society. That's it. Who bind to the according to law, a good citizen is a one who obeys laws. That's it. They never bother about whether you pay taxes or those things. No. A good citizen is anyone who obeys laws. What are being set by that nation? Anyone who obeys laws, yes, he is a good citizen. Same when it comes to big data. Big data being an open term, people start giving their own opinions or views towards what is big data. So not to happen this one, industry has standardized this definition. So big data is anything which has got three essential characteristics. Big data is anything which has got three essential characteristics. Big data is anything which has got three essential characteristics. What are those three essential characteristics? 1, volume. 2, variety. 3, velocity. So volume, variety and velocity are the three essential characteristics with which we define something called big data. And these are popularly called as 3 V's. Of course, these V's are getting extended like value, veracity, viscosity. These V's are getting extended. But these are the three essential characteristics with which we define something called big data. Other V's are also there, but these are the three minimum or the three essential characteristics with which we define something called big data. Hope you have understood what is big data. Big data is anything which has got three essential characteristics. What are those three essential characteristics? Volume, variety, and velocity are the three essential characteristics with which we define something called big data. Let us take each characteristic in detail and discuss about it. That is where we are talking about volume. Why we need to talk about these points in detail, we'll understand slowly now. Volume. Because in the beginning when I asked, big data is anything which has got huge or big volume or big size of data sets. That is what Laden has mentioned. We are coming to that one only now. If you look at this one closely, compare to the books what you have in your shelf. Compare to the books what you have in your shelf. These are more in volume. These are more in volume. So with this you can clearly understand volume is not an absolute term. Volume is a relative term. What do you mean by relative term? There is no such thing on this planet called absolute volume. Like how there is no such thing called absolute happiness on this planet. There is no concept called absolute happiness. Happiness is always by comparison. These are relative terms. These are not absolute terms. Happiness is not an absolute term. It is a relative term. Compared to me, you are more happier. Compared to you, someone else happier. Compared to them, some others might be more happier. So, it is always by comparison, but never absolute happiness. Same like even here, there is no such thing called absolute volume. I mean, when you have this much of data, then only we call it as volume. No. So you understand from this very clearly, volume being a relative term, compared to the data what I have on my laptop, you may have more volume of data, which you might have gathered from different sources. So it is always by comparison, but not absolute. So you understand what is the impact of this volume. Look at this presentation, you understand very clearly. This is a pretty interesting thing. Every organization definitely has got something called warehouse infrastructure. Either small or big, definitely will have warehouse infrastructure. What do you mean by warehouse infrastructure? Warehouse infrastructure is the one. Warehouse infrastructure is the one with which you are able to store and process. As a part of the process, we call it as analyze. Store and process the very important thing called data. Warehouse infrastructure is anything that has the ability to store and process the data. It has got many other usages, forget about it. But you see, every day into your warehouse, this is called Enterprise Data Warehouse, EDW. What we call it as EDW. Every day you are getting data into your warehouse, you are storing that and processing it. Just storing is meaningless. Just storing the data is meaningless. You should process it. Then only it makes sense. Then only it is useful. Otherwise, just storing the data, what is advantage? So, every day you are getting the data into your enterprise data warehouse. You are storing that and then processing it. Analyzing it, and you are getting the results out of it. But you see closely, day by day, as you keep moving, the amount of data that is coming to your organization, if you observe closely, definitely starts getting increased. You take a simple scenario, an individual like you or me, 5 years back, see how much amount of data we used to hold. Maybe in a span of 1 year, if you take, might be 10 GB of data you might have gathered from different sources. Maybe downloading the documents, downloading some music files or something of that sort from the internet. In one full year, you just estimate or calculate the amount of data you have collected. And down the line, after 3-4 years now, if you evaluate yourself, you might have surpassed that data in just 3 months. For various reasons, friends. Maybe the storage became cheap for you. A 1 TB or a 2 TB external drive is coming around $30, $40 or $50. Your storage has become very cheap, and there are many cloud solutions giving 100 GB storage free of cost and multiple TBs of data at some fixed price per year. As it became affordable, obviously your needs are getting increased. As a result, the amount of data that you are holding as an individual is also tremendously, it has gone up. So when it comes to an organization, same is the story. The amount of data coming into your box every day, if you are able to process all the data the same day, then yes, it makes sense. But you observe this slide, the amount of data coming into your organization is growing up, but the ability to process the data the same day with the existing infrastructure obviously will go down. At some point, you see, there is some data left over which is unprocessed. There is some data that is left over which is unprocessed. Maybe every day you are getting 2 GB of data into your box. Every day you are getting 2 GB of data into your box, and you are able to process only 1.5 GB of data. The remaining 0.5 GB is left unprocessed. So over a period of time, there is a lot of data that is being accumulated which is left unprocessed, and that is going to create something called blind zone. I hope you are able to understand this one, friends. What is blind zone? Blind zone is nothing but the zone in which, or the zone in which the data resides which is left unprocessed. the data that is left unprocessed. That is what we call it to be blind zone. The more the blind zone, the more the organization will be in trouble, because till we process the data, we never come to know whether it is useful or useless. We come to know whether it is useful or useless only when you process it. So volume is throwing me a problem. What is the problem it is throwing me? Vladan, what is the problem it is throwing me? Abraham. Are you there, friends?
Sorry, what was your question? Can you repeat it?
No, what is the impact of volume? Because we are discussing about volume now. What is the impact of volume? If the amount of data coming into your storage, is beyond your processing limits, then definitely is a troublesome, right?
Yes.
I mean, your enterprise data warehouse is capable of processing 2 GB of, don't take these into consideration. I'm not telling these exact figures to make you to understand, because we are not talking about the infrastructure here. We are only talking about the impact of the volume. So your enterprise data warehouse is capable of processing 2 GB of data per day, but you are getting 2.2 GB of data every day. 2.2 GB of data is coming. Your enterprise data warehouse is capable of processing only 2 GB. So every day 0.2 GB data is left unprocessed. Next day another 0.2 GB, another 0.2 GB. So over a period of time, you have considerable amount of data which is left unprocessed. If this is growing more, then definitely is going to be a challenge to the organization. And one more thing. If the data is growing exponentially like this, it is not that today we have 2.2 GB, tomorrow also it will be 2.2 GB, maybe, but down the line, definitely this reaches 2.5 GB, and this may go to 5 GB, and this may go to 10 GB per day. I'm talking. This is all per day. And over a period of time, it is 100 GB per day. Nothing wrong, because we are living in the world where data is coming from different sources. So the question that arises with volume is, when the volume of the data is going to increase like this, where you store it, because your enterprise data warehouse cannot hold beyond some limit. Beyond some limit, your enterprise data warehouse cannot hold. Then what you do? Usually what we do is, we are going to, beyond some limit, if your enterprise data warehouse is not able to store, then you are going to archive it. Beyond some limit, when your enterprise data warehouse is not able to hold, we are going to archive it and put it in the library. I hope you have understood this point, what I mean by archiving. So we take the backup on the tape drives kind of storage, and put them in the library with a proper label. And whenever you want, you can bring the data and load it into your enterprise warehouse and start analyzing it. I think you might have experienced. You go to any bank and you ask them to provide a statement of 7 years back. You are the customer in the same bank for the last 10 years. So for some reason, necessity has arisen. You need a statement of 7 years back. You go and ask the bank guy, I want the statement of 2010. They say they cannot give it immediately. You agree with me, Vladan? Abraham?
Yes.
Yes.
What they say? Give a request letter and we are going to send it to your mail, or maybe you can come and collect after a few days. The reason behind it, the data is not available on their accessible storage. That is already archived. They need to construct. There will be a mechanism that happens in the background that all these kind of requests which comes are going to be processed in the back office. And that's how it is been done. Now you may ask me one thing, what is the problem, Srinivas, then? Though I have data, but I cannot make it live, because as my data storage is growing beyond some limit, I am compelled to archive it. Archiving in the sense, when I'm using the term called archive, the data is in the passive state. It is not in the active state. When it is inside my enterprise data warehouse, it is in the active state. I mean, it is accessible to me. But when I archive it, it is not accessible to me. I need to make it accessible. If I need to make it accessible, I need to again dump this into my, and then only I am able to access that. So this is definitely a tedious and an expensive process. My data is not live. So the biggest threat here is my data is not live. My data is not live. So that is where the volume is posing the question. When your enterprise data warehouses are not able to store the data beyond some limit, then where you store it to, because I want my data to be live. See, not having money with you, just having money with you is not sufficient. You may have $10 million in the bank account, but you don't have $10 in your pocket on a particular occasion. It makes no sense. Of course, that situation never happens because you may have your money in the form of electronic cards or checkbooks, various forms. That is always there with you. I'm just telling you. You don't have anything in your pocket except $10 that day. Even you have 10 million in your account, it doesn't make sense. So that is where I am saying here. You may have a huge volume of data, but if it is not live, accessible to you, it doesn't make sense. So how you can make your data live, even beyond the limits of your enterprise data warehouse? So volume is questioning me where you store it. Where you store it means I can store in a lot of storage solutions are there, but I want to store this one as live data. That is important thing here. Where you store it is a question being posed by your volume. Are you clear with this one, friends? What I discussed till now?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Great. So next one is variety. What are the three V's? The first one is volume and the second one is variety. If you look at this one, you have varieties of data. Alone, In the image itself, you have GIF format, you have JPEG, you have PNG, you have BMP, whatnot. You have huge number of, I'm just showing you few here. And there are many proprietary formats also there, proprietary formats. There are many proprietary formats. So you look at that one closely, you understand that the variety is also questioning, because you know very well your enterprise data warehouses are built backed by your traditional RDBMS, relational database management systems, where schema is defined first. Schema is defined first, and you should put the data based on the definition. If the table is defined in such a way that this particular column is numeric, then you are allowed to store only numeric data there in this column. You cannot store text data here. It is not possible. It is not possible to store the text data there because that column is defined as a numeric type. So as the schema is already been defined, only that data is allowed to be stored inside that table. Other than that, it is not possible. But when you are getting hundreds, thousands of varieties of data, how this can be stored? Because I want a storage in such a way like how your hard disk is there. Your hard disk never complains. Whether you are storing a PDF or storing a JPEG or a MP3, MP4 or a Word document or an Excel sheet, your hard disk never complains. Your hard disk doesn't complain for the reason your hard disk is not segmented based on the type of the data you store. It is just a storage. So I want my data warehouse or my storage to be like that. So variety is questioning me how and where we store varieties of data. Is a question. How and where we store varieties of data, because I really don't know what the variety of data that is going to come next. Tomorrow I may have a new format of data, but my storage should not say, oh sorry, it is not allowed. As it is not defined, it is not allowed. It should not say that. I hope you are getting my point, friends, here. What my variety is questioning, what my volume is questioning, beyond your enterprise data warehouse storage limits, you want to store the data live, how you can store it or where you can store it. Same, how and where you store varieties of data. So your volume, please look at this one very closely, friends. You definitely appreciate. Your volume and your variety both are questioning you related to storage. How you store huge volumes of data and how you store wide varieties of data are the questions being raised by both volume and variety. So two questions being raised where we don't have answers. And the third one now is called velocity. Velocity. Velocity is the third factor with which you define. Look at this slide, friends, very closely. Look at this one for a minute and we'll have a discussion on it. Now looking at this slide, tell me what is that you get. Because the word velocity is good to be applied to a moving object or a car or a train, a bus or something of that sort. But how velocity can be applied to data is an interesting thing. Look at this one. The rate at which the data is coming into your storage, at the same rate if you are able to process, it is good. I give you a classical example here. Most of the times I give the example, though it is routine, but it is a good example. You are back from work. And you sat before the television. You are watching the television. Someone on the screen reading the news. What they are saying. Today morning there was a heavy snow in the city. Please look at this one, friends. The newsreader is reading on the screen. Today morning there was heavy snow in the city. Does that make any sense to you? Because we already experienced it and enjoyed it. And we face that difficulty also. There is no point listening to someone sharing which has already happened. Nothing great in sharing the information about the disaster. But good to hear, same newsreader if able to read, tomorrow morning between 8 and 9 there will be heavy snow in these parts of city. If you have a plan to go to those parts of city, you are well prepared or you will be postponing it. Tomorrow morning between 8 and 9 there will be heavy snow in these parts of city. Makes sense. That is what I am saying. This velocity is not related to storage. This velocity is related to processing. How quick you process the data and share the meaningful information to your customers. That is why the slide is being shown like this. The rate at which the data is coming into your box, at the same rate if you are able to process, you will be able to give meaningful information to your customers. Otherwise, you are going to share after the disaster has happened. So velocity is something which is related to your processing. And not just processing, velocity is questioning you how quick you can process. How quick you can process, I mean, it must be like on the fly. On the fly means data coming to you, same rate it should be able to get processed. It is something like data coming to you, getting processed almost the same speed. Then only it makes sense. So your velocity is questioning, can you able to process the data coming to your box at the same speed? So now tell me, what is big data, friends? You have listened to me for the last 45 minutes or so. I am asking you because we started this discussion with 4 points in the mind very clearly. What is big data? What is Hadoop? What relationship exists between big data and Hadoop? And what components you have as part of the Hadoop ecosystem? Because many people, they say big data is anything which has got volume, variety, velocity and all these things. But I'm asking you again, what is big data? Is it a technology? Is big data a technology? No. Is it a software? No. Is it a framework? No. What is it then? You have listened to me for the last 45 minutes. I'm asking you again, what is big data in your view now? Gladden.
Yes. So what we said that big data is anything which has three essential characteristics.
Yes. That industry has
Volume,
already
variety,
defined.
and velocity.
No, industry has already defined that one. But out of the discussion what we made till now, what is your understanding on big data?
Big data is so all the data that comes into our, say, enterprise data warehouse and processed, and we have some result off of the data.
You agree with me?
Yes.
Big data is just a problem statement. How I say that one? Big data is questioning me or asking me how and where you store huge volume and wide varieties of data. Is questioning me how quickly you can process data. You got the point?
Yes.
So big data is just a problem statement. It is just a problem statement. Surrounding what? It is a problem statement surrounding two things. One, storage, and the other one, processing. Abraham, you agree with me?
Yes.
So big data is just a problem statement surrounding two things. What are those two things? Storage and processing. That is where you have something called Hadoop as a solution in the form of HDFS and MapReduce. HDFS is to address your storage need. MapReduce is to address your processing need. So whenever you hear the term called Hadoop, you implicitly mean HDFS and MapReduce. I need not tell you that Hadoop means HDFS and MapReduce. It is implicitly means like that only. So Hadoop is a solution for storage and processing both. Storage is addressed using your HDFS, where you can practically store any amount of data. Practically, I'm saying here, not theoretically, practically. Because as of today, in Yahoo is the highest user of Hadoop and highest contributor of Hadoop till date. Yahoo has got 60,000 node Hadoop cluster running live. The highest in the industry as of now. Yahoo is having a 60,000 node Hadoop cluster, and this is growing. I really don't know the exact number as of today. It is a rough estimate what the documents are showing. Still this is growing. So you can practically store any amount of data in your Hadoop cluster using your HDFS, and you can quickly process it using MapReduce, because MapReduce is backed by massive parallel processing. MapReduce is backed by massive parallel processing. Of course, these things are not needed as an admin to you, but without you understanding these things, you can never be a good administrator. That is the reason why I shared with you in the beginning that even though your goal is to be a Hadoop admin, you must have some developer knowledge, without which it is not possible. Without which it is not possible for you to be a good administrator. I hope you understand, friends, what I am trying to share with you now. So with this, what is the clarity you have? Tell me what is the clarity you have. What is the clarity you got? Big data is a problem statement, and Hadoop is a solution to the problem statement what you are given. The problem statement states storage and processing, and that is why in the solution also we have the solution for storage and the solution for processing. I hope you are getting the point. And more interesting, friends, here, if you look closely, Hadoop is basically an open source. It is not a proprietary. It is an open source, because Hadoop is actually from Apache Software Foundation. So as this being from Apache is obviously an open source, and you take Cloudera or you take Hortonworks or you take IBM Big Insights, or you take any other bundle, Intel has got their own, but they have closed it now. So you take any of these bundles, we call them as solution providers. These are called providers. You take any of these providers, though Cloudera call it as CDH, Cloudera distribution for Hadoop. Hortonworks call it as HDP, Hortonworks data platform. Let you take any of these companies, internally they are using the same components which are developed by Apache only. No company has developed any product on their own. All been from the open source only. Instead of you downloading them independently and setting up in your cluster, they are giving it to you in the form of a distributed or a bundled solution so that you can easily set up and maintain it. That is the only thing. So don't think that, of course, over a period of time, Cloudera, Hortonworks, and all these people, they matured their integration solutions with the proper integration frameworks and their own UIs, user interfaces. But the core components are from Apache only. So now I think you have understood clearly, friends, what is big data and what is Hadoop. You go and refer any document in the internet or any video you see, nowhere they mention big data is a problem statement. This all you need to understand. After studying the big data thoroughly, you should understand that big data is a problem statement and Hadoop is a solution to that problem statement. But I don't want you to spend that much time next 6 months or 1 year and then you come to this conclusion. That is the reason why I thought of sharing these things with you so that your learning process is going to be more effective. And this is where Sunil has introduced in the beginning in what way TechieBiz is different from other traditional training institutes. So we do it in a different style because we know very well what is important and what is immediately needed to make up your skill set. So I hope, friends, you are now clear what is big data. Of course, when you need to define big data, you definitely say big data is anything which has got 3 essential characteristics called volume, variety, and velocity. Definite. I'm not denying that. But you should also understand big data is just a problem statement because it is not a framework, it is not a platform, it is not a solution, it is not a software, it is just a problem statement. And this problem statement is addressed using an open source solution called Hadoop in the form of HDFS and MapReduce. So I hope with this you are clear with the 2 points what I mentioned in the beginning. What are the 2 points? What is big data and what is Hadoop and what relationship exists between big data and Hadoop. Now it is a time to talk about the 4th point, that is what other components you have as part of the Hadoop ecosystem. So with this we get the fair understanding. This is what we call it to be Hadoop ecosystem. At the very lowest level you have storage because until and unless you store the data you will not be able to do anything. That is why the very lowest is data storage. On the top of data storage we have data processing and on the top we have data access and then we have data management and finally your data analytics layer is going to sit. So you look at this stack, you clearly understand what is that you have. Data storage, data processing, data access, data management and data analytics, all surrounding your concept called data. So this entire thing is what we technically call it to be Hadoop ecosystem. So as an admin, your role and responsibility is to set up the cluster and ensure all these components are up and running and all these components are fine-tuned to give their best, and at times when it is needed you should be able to upgrade your cluster to the new version or new release, and you should scale your cluster to the next level of storage depending on your organization need. Today your cluster size may be 20 node, so over a period of time you need to add more nodes to it, and you should also perform regular activities like load balancing on the cluster. So all these things needs to be done by you as an admin. As a developer, you learn how to work with pig, write pig scripts and work with them or run them, how to write Hive queries and run them, how to write your MapReduce programs and run them against the cluster, how to run your scoop commands. All those things you'll be doing as a Hadoop developer. As a Hadoop admin, your responsibility is to set up the cluster and do the scaling, balancing, and fine tuning, all these things, and of course, backups, disaster recovery, all these things you'll be doing as a Hadoop admin, but working on the same stack. Let you be an admin or a developer, anything you take, even you take SAP, there also you'll be working on the same platform. As an admin, your roles and responsibilities are different, but you'll be working on the same, right? So with this, I think you are very clear, friends. What is that we have discussed till now? What is that we have discussed till now? The points that I mentioned at the beginning of my discussion, hope you are pretty clear. With what we have started, I think we are able to achieve. And I think now you get some understanding. I don't say that you got everything, that why you need to be a partial developer even though you want to be an administrator, because as you're going to work with these components, you should know if you are not a partial developer, as an admin, if you are not a partial developer, then what happens is every problem encountered by the developer will be thrown on you, saying that this is administration related issue, not mine. But if you are a partial developer, you have every possibility to say, this is nowhere related to my administration, this is all fine tuning required at your level to make your job run properly. To make those things possible, you definitely need to have basic knowledge how pig scripts are going to be, Hive queries are going to be, those needs to be definitely there with you. So that is why these courses, Hadoop Developer and Hadoop Admin, cannot be absolutely done independently. They have slight dependency on the other things even. So hope with this you are clear. What is big data? I think you got the understanding. What is Hadoop? You got the understanding. And in what way your Hadoop and big data are related to each other, we have got the sound understanding. And what is your Hadoop ecosystem, what components you have here. So these four things I thought of sharing with you so that you get the understanding, because the problem is you go and ask any, and I don't claim that nobody knows these things, but majority of the people who are working in the industry, even today, you go and ask them what is big data, they are behind the same thing, volume, variety, and velocity. So in what way you are different, friends? Our intention is not to be different from others, but our intention is to prove, because if you want to get a job, you definitely need to be different from other 100 people who take the same interview. If you are one among them, then there is no way, there is no chance that you get in. And in order to be different, you definitely need to have a different perspective. So if you say, if the question being asked, what is big data? Big data is anything which has got three essential characteristics: volume, variety, and velocity. Yes, the interviewer knows, even the interviewer knows and listening the same thing for the last few years. But along with that, if you also say, though it is related to volume, variety, and velocity, but it is throwing a problem, asking the industry how and where you store huge volume and wide varieties of data, and how you can quickly process it. So thereby, big data is a problem statement and it is not a technology or a platform. You start talking in that way, then one really understand, oh, you have sound and deep understanding of the concepts. So that is where we make you different. That is the reason why the name Techie Bees, the name Techie Bees, you know very well, bees are the foundation to this planet Earth, because plants cannot come together and mutate like how human beings and animals can have intercourse being together. They can move, but plants cannot come together. And the plants will undergo the pollination only with the help of the bees. If there is no pollination, there is no greenery, no animals, and no animals, no human beings. And over a period of time, I don't say that, you know, if no bees, planet will go out in next minute. No, over a period of time, the planet will vanish. Bees are the foundation. Same like our technology bees should work in the same way in the industry. That is the reason why we call this as techie bees. The bees coming out of our organization should work in the same way. They should go to different organizations and pollinate. Don't get confused, friends. Not to pollute, it is pollinate. How the bees are going to pollinate, sitting on one plant and again sitting on the other plant, how the plants are going to get pollinated. Same like the organizations need to get pollinated with our bees. So that was the motto. And that is the reason why you need to learn these concepts so in detail, because it may look very simple. And Srinivas, to understand big data and Hadoop, why you took 1.5 hours, you can finish it in 15 minutes. Yes, I can finish it in 15 minutes. But the knowledge what we gained with the discussion what we made is going to be the foundation for all your future learning process. There will not be any query in your mind throughout our discussion. What is big data? What is Hadoop? What is Hadoop ecosystem? And in Hadoop ecosystem, why we have the layers like this? Without storage, what we process? That is why storage is at the lowest. On the top of the storage, we have processing, and on the top of the processing, we have access, and on the top of access, we have management, and finally, our analytics. And you need not even by heart this stack. You can understand it technically, and that is where the difference comes in learning the concepts from us, friends. Hope you got the understanding what we have. With what concept we initiated in our today's discussion. And by this time, I think you are clear with all the points what I mentioned in the beginning. So you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to address those things now in the boundaries that permits me. It's all yours, friends, now. Abraham, Laden.
So you mentioned a assignment?
No. I'm just asking you all the points what we have raised in the beginning, whether we were able to cover those things or not. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask so that I can address those things in our today's discussion.
Okay, so you went over a PowerPoint. Do we have access to it?
Yeah, that will be shared through the blog what is being created.
All right. Is there any assignment to do today, or that will be for the next module?
No, you need to have, if you are clear with what we have discussed, then I'm going to give the assignment to you to make understand certain aspects. So you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we end up by taking some assignment.
I have no question.
Yeah, fine, that's great. So if you don't have any questions, then I advise you to go through hadoop.apache.org, because I always insist all my participants to go through the actual technical documentation rather than referring the books or any other stuff. So I advise you to go through this hadoop.apache.org and try to understand what best you can. I'm not putting any constraint to you, you must go through all this stuff. That being your initial, so you understand. Apache Hadoop software is a library framework that allows for distributed processing of large data sets across clusters of computers using simple programming models. So this is a statement which gives me the understanding both storage and processing are there inside your Hadoop. How I came to know that Hadoop has got both storage and processing, how I came to know? Tell me how I came to know this one. Hadoop has got HDFS and MapReduce. How I came to know? Nowhere they have given an equation called Hadoop equal to HDFS plus MapReduce. They never give like that. When you read these documents, you understand. It's a framework that allows for distributed processing. That is your MapReduce. Large data sets across clusters of computers. That clusters of computers nothing but your HDFS. That is your storage. So using simple programming model, it is designed to scale up from single servers to thousands of machines, each offering local computation and storage. So I advise you to go through hadoop.apache.org, and more specifically, you have something called Learn About. In getting started, we have something called Learn About. In Learn About, you get many aspects here. What is single node setup, cluster setup, file system shell, and you have HDFS architecture, and you have your MapReduce, and you have your YARN architecture. So what best you can, I'm not saying that you need to go through this, no, because this is a continuous process, but I'm giving you the option so that you can start going through these things. Okay, so you can look at this one, friends, and what best you can read, please read. And you need not finish any physical assignment. The assignment is to go through all these things so that you get some understanding, so that when you come back to the sessions again, at least the terminology what you go through here will make you feel comfortable to take my next sessions, right? So please go through this one, friends, make a note of it, and please bookmark this in your browser, hadoop.apache.org. hadoop.apache.org. Best way to get the true technical documentation related to administration or even developer. Okay, so please go through this one. By the time we meet in the next discussion, so that our next session will be more effective, working with the core concepts, and we see what an administrator needs to have. All those aspects we see as part of our next session.